Welcome back to Mindset Motivation, where science meets strategy to transform your life from the inside out. Today we're diving into one of the most dangerous and most misunderstood types of fat in the human body, visceral fat. This isn't the kind of fat you can just pinch. It's the fat that wraps around your organs, silently increasing your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers. Here's the shocking part. You can be thin on the outside and still carry dangerous levels of visceral fat. That's why it's not just about weight, it's about health. And if you've been struggling to lose fat despite eating clean, counting calories, and pushing hard in your workouts, you're not alone. The missing link? Your brain. That's right. Your nervous system, your stress levels, your sleep quality, and your daily habits all send powerful signals to your body that either burn fat or store it, especially around your midsection. In today's episode, I'll be sharing 5 science-backed habits that help you eliminate visceral fat naturally by working with your brain and body, not against them. This is your roadmap to a healthier, leaner, and more energized you from the inside out. Let's dive in. When we talk about eliminating visceral fat, the kind of fat that wraps around your internal organs and drives up the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses, there's a tendency to jump straight into diet plans and exercise regimens. But one of the most overlooked and arguably most powerful levers we have for long-term fat loss is sleep. I want to invite you to think differently about your day, not just in terms of what you eat or how you move, but how you rest and recover. Because the truth is, if you're not sleeping right, almost nothing else you're doing will fully take hold. Let's begin with something basic, your circadian rhythm. This is your body's natural 24-hour clock. It regulates when you feel awake, when you feel sleepy, and it even governs hormone release, digestion, and fat store. If your circadian rhythm is disrupted, say you're going to bed at inconsistent hours, spending too much time under artificial light at night, or not getting sunlight early in the day, your body starts to get confused about when it should be storing energy and when it should be burning it. That confusion translates into a metabolic environment where visceral fat can thrive. The first step is consistency. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Yes, even on weekends. Your brain and body crave rhythm. When that rhythm is locked in, the downstream effects are profound. Cortisol, the stress hormone, peaks in the early morning to help you wake up and then gradually declines through the day. Melatonin, which helps you fall asleep, starts rising when the sun goes down. But if you're blasting your eyes with blue light from screens at 11 p.m., your brain gets the signal that it's still daytime. Melatonin production stalls, sleep becomes shallow, and the metabolic repair work that should be happening overnight just doesn't occur. Now, when sleep suffers, especially deep sleep, your body becomes more insulin resistant. That means after just 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep, your cells don't respond as well to insulin. Your blood sugar stays elevated longer, your cravings for processed carbs and sugar go up, and your body becomes more likely to store those extra calories as visceral fat. That's not just speculation. There are dozens of peer-reviewed studies showing that sleep deprivation leads to increased fat storage, especially around the abdomen. One powerful tool you can use is morning sunlight. It sounds so simple, it almost feels dismissible. But the truth is, getting outside within 30 to 60 minutes after waking, just for 5 to 10 minutes if it's bright, or 20 to 30 minutes if it's cloudy, can have a profound effect on your sleep that night. That morning light hits specialized cells in your eyes that signal to your brain, hey, the day has started. That light anchors your circadian rhythm. Then about 14 to 16 hours later, your brain begins ramping up melatonin. And that's not something that supplements or pills can fully replicate. Your body is biologically wired to follow this light-dark rhythm, and aligning with it helps optimize your metabolism and reduce visceral fat over time. Let's talk about the cascade of benefits that happen when you start sleeping well. Growth hormone is released in pulses during deep sleep. This hormone supports fat breakdown and muscle repair. Leptin and ghrelin, 2 hormones that control hunger, are also tightly regulated by sleep. When sleep is dialed in, leptin tells your brain you're full, and ghrelin stays low so you're not constantly hungry. But the moment you shortchange your sleep, those signals flip. You wake up with more cravings, especially for high-calorie, high-fat, high-sugar foods. You eat more without even realizing it. Sleep also enhances your ability to regulate your emotions and make disciplined decisions. Think about it. How many times have you noticed that when you're exhausted, it's easier to give in to temptation? That's not a character flaw. That's brain chemistry. When sleep deprived, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control, goes offline. The amygdala, your emotional alarm system, becomes more reactive. That combination makes it harder to resist that late night snack or say no to second helpings. Over time, these little decisions accumulate and contribute to visceral fat storage. Now, let me share a simple protocol you can start using tonight. First, dim the lights in your environment about an hour before bed. If you can, use warm lighting. Avoid bright LEDs and screens. If you must use screens, use blue light filters or wear blue light blocking glasses. Next, make your sleeping environment cool, dark, and quiet. A bedroom temperature around 65 to 68 DEF is ideal for deep sleep. Use blackout curtains if needed, and eliminate any unnecessary noise or light. These small changes can dramatically improve your sleep architecture. Also, be mindful of caffeine and alcohol. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, meaning that if you drink coffee at 4 p.m., a significant amount is still in your system by 10 p.m. That can delay sleep onset and reduce the amount of deep sleep you get. Alcohol, on the other hand, might make you feel sleepy at first, but it fragments sleep later in the night and suppresses REM. If visceral fat loss is your goal, both substances need to be handled with respect. Another underrated sleep tool, breath work. Just a few minutes of deep, slow nasal breathing before bed can shift your body out of the sympathetic fight or flight mode into the parasympathetic rest and digest state. One simple method is the 4-7-8 breath. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale slowly for 8. Do that for just 4 or 5 rounds, and you'll feel your whole system start to downshift. It's that state of calm is essential for falling asleep more quickly and entering deep, restorative sleep cycles. One more key insight, your sleep actually begins the moment you wake up. What you do throughout the day determines how well you'll sleep that night. Get sunlight, move your body, eat your meals on a relatively consistent schedule, and avoid overstimulation late in the day. These inputs shape the quality of your nighttime rest. And the better your sleep, the more your body becomes a fat-burning, muscle-repairing, inflammation-fighting machine. You don't have to be perfect. Start by improving just 1 or 2 aspects of your sleep hygiene. Maybe you wake up 30 minutes earlier and get outside. Maybe you commit to shutting down electronics 45 minutes before bed. Maybe you stop caffeine after noon. These small wins stack, and they stack in your favor. Every night of high-quality sleep you bank helps shift your metabolism away from fat storage and toward fat burning. So yes, nutrition matters. Yes, exercise matters. But without high-quality sleep to regulate your hormones, reduce inflammation, and restore your body, all those other efforts are being done with the brakes partially on. If you truly want to eliminate visceral fat, not just temporarily, but in a lasting, sustainable way, your first commitment should be to honoring your sleep. Your body has an incredible capacity to heal and recalibrate when given the right signals. Sleep is one of the clearest, strongest signals you can give it. Let your biology work for you, not against you. Start tonight, and as you begin to sleep better, you'll notice your energy, focus, appetite, and mood all start to improve, making it even easier to stay on track with the other habits we're going to cover. That's how you create momentum. And if you're following along on Mindset Motivation, this is the moment where change starts to feel real. If you're serious about eliminating visceral fat, you can't afford to rely solely on steady-state cardio or light workouts that barely challenge your system. There's a specific kind of training that's backed by science and built to tap into your body's most potent fat-burning mechanisms, both during the workout and long after it ends. I'm talking about high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. And before you start picturing a boot camp style session that leaves you gasping on the floor, I want to reframe how you see this type of training. Not as something intimidating, but as something incredibly efficient and deeply aligned with how your body was designed to move. Let's start by understanding how visceral fat behaves. This type of fat doesn't just sit around your organs. It actively releases inflammatory molecules, disrupts hormone signaling, and interferes with insulin sensitivity. It's metabolically active in the worst kind of way. So if we want to target it, we need a stimulus that reaches deep into our system and shifts our metabolic baseline. HIIT is uniquely effective because it creates a cascade of physiological changes that go beyond just burning calories. When you perform short bursts of intense physical effort, followed by brief periods of recovery, you engage both aerobic and anaerobic systems. That alone sets HIIT apart. It pushes your heart rate up, increases your oxygen consumption, and more importantly, spikes something called excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC. What that means is even after you stop working out, your body continues to burn fat as it tries to restore homeostasis. It's like lighting a metabolic fire that keeps burning for hours, long after you've finished your session. Now, here's where it gets interesting for anyone dealing with stubborn visceral fat. When HIIT is practiced consistently, even just 2 or 3 times per week, it's been shown to significantly reduce abdominal fat stores, especially the visceral kind that wraps around your organs. That's not theory. That's been repeatedly demonstrated in studies comparing HIIT to moderate steady state cardio. The difference isn't just in fat loss, but in how your body adapts. HIIT improves insulin sensitivity, lowers fasting glucose, and increases mitochondrial density, essentially upgrading the machinery that determines how efficiently your body uses fuel. And you don't need to spend an hour doing it. Most effective HIIT protocols can be completed in 15 to 25 minutes. That's the power of intensity. It allows you to train less while gaining more. But intensity doesn't mean recklessness. It means focused, purposeful effort during your intervals. That could be a sprint on a track or treadmill, a round of jump squats, cycling, kettlebell swings, or even burpees. The form doesn't matter nearly as much as the pattern. Work hard for 20 to 60 seconds, then rest for 1 to 2 minutes. Repeat that for 5 to 10 rounds, depending on your conditioning. That's it. You're done. And your body begins the deep work of shifting its internal fat-burning state. There's also a neurological component to this that often goes overlooked. When you push your body into high effort and recover repeatedly, you train your nervous system to tolerate stress and return to calm. That dynamic adaptation improves your ability to handle emotional stress in daily life. And why does that matter for visceral fat? Because chronic stress elevates cortisol, and high cortisol is directly linked to fat storage around the abdomen. HIIT doesn't just lower cortisol after the session, it conditions your body to buffer that stress response more effectively over time. So what does that look like in practice? Imagine you start your week with a 20-minute HIIT session you do 30 seconds of all-out effort, let's say sprinting or fast cycling, followed by 90 seconds of walking or slow pedaling. You repeat that for 8 rounds. It's not easy, but it's done quickly. That session alone will elevate your metabolism for the next several hours. If you do it again on Wednesday and again on Saturday, you've created 3 windows in your week where your body is burning fat at an accelerated rate and improving its insulin regulation. And each of those sessions is short enough that you don't need to sacrifice other parts of your routine. You could do it first thing in the morning, during a lunch break, or in your living room with no equipment. Now, I want to address a common question. What if I'm not in shape yet? The beauty of HIIT is that it's scalable. Intensity is relative. If your current fitness level only allows for brisk walking as your high intensity, that's fine. Do that for 30 seconds, then walk slower for 90. The goal is to push your body just outside of its comfort zone, not to match someone else's pace. Over time, your output increases naturally. What's more important is consistency and willingness to go to that edge repeatedly. That's where transformation lives. Another overlooked benefit of HIIT is how it supports muscle maintenance and growth. Unlike long-duration cardio, which can sometimes lead to muscle breakdown when done excessively, HIIT helps preserve lean mass. That's important because muscle is metabolically active. It burns calories even at rest. The more lean mass you maintain while losing fat, the more sustainable your results become. It also improves your posture, energy, and functional strength, all of which feed back into your ability to stay active and lean. And there's a psychological side to this. When you engage in something physically demanding, even for just a few seconds, you trigger a sense of accomplishment. You reinforce the identity of someone who does hard things. That mindset shift carries into your nutrition choices, your sleep habits, your stress management. Suddenly, you're not just someone trying to lose fat. You're someone living in alignment with health, energy, and strength. That's a powerful place to be. Now, I don't want you to think HIIT is the only form of movement that matters. Walking, strength training, mobility work, all of that plays a role. But if you're stuck at a plateau, or you're noticing that the usual methods aren't cutting through stubborn belly fat, HIIT is a strategic accelerator. It's like turning up the dial on your body's internal engine. And it doesn't require fancy equipment, expensive memberships, or even a gym. It just requires effort and the willingness to be uncomfortable for brief periods of time. Here's one quick protocol you can try tomorrow. After a 3-minute warm-up, do 20 seconds of squat jumps, followed by 40 seconds of rest. Then 20 seconds of mountain climbers, 40 seconds rest. Repeat that pattern with burpees, jumping lunges, and high knees. That's 5 movements. Do 2 rounds. That's your entire workout in less than 20 minutes. You'll feel the effect immediately, and your body will continue reaping the benefits long after. Let me say this clearly. Visceral fat is not just a cosmetic issue. It's a biological signal that something deeper needs to change. And HIIT addresses that signal on multiple levels. It reshapes how your body uses energy, improves your hormonal balance, strengthens your cardiovascular system, and builds mental toughness. There's a reset button for your metabolism, and it rewards consistency consistency with measurable change. If you're following along with Mindset Motivation, this is where I want you to lean in. Don't overcomplicate it. Pick 2 or 3 hit sessions a week, stick with it for 30 days, and track how your energy, mood, and waistline begin to shift. You'll find that those short, intense bursts of effort don't just change your body, they change your relationship with challenge. And that ripple effect is where real transformation begins. When it comes to eliminating visceral fat, there's a crucial area we absolutely have to address: what you're putting into your body every single day. Food is not just fuel, it's information. It tells your body how to function, how to store energy, how to burn it, and whether to build health or contribute to disease. And if you're dealing with stubborn visceral fat, the deep abdominal fat that wraps around your organs, it means your metabolic system has been receiving the wrong signals for far too long. But the good news is that system is highly responsive and it can change. The way we eat plays a major role in how fast and how effectively that change happens. Visceral fat accumulation doesn't just come from eating too many calories. It's much more nuanced than that. It's largely about the type of calories and the hormonal response they trigger. One of the biggest culprits is added sugar, especially when it comes in the form of sweetened beverages, ultra-processed snacks, and hidden sugars in everyday foods. Sugar, particularly fructose, when consumed in excess, gets shuttled to the liver. And when the liver is already full of glycogen, that excess sugar is converted directly into fat that often gets deposited deep in the abdominal cavity. This is where insulin comes into play. Insulin is a hormone that helps shuttle nutrients into your cells. But when your diet is loaded with refined carbohydrates, white bread, pastries, chips, sugary cereals, your blood sugar spikes rapidly, your pancreas releases insulin to deal with it, and over time, if this pattern repeats, your cells start becoming resistant to insulin's signal. That's called insulin resistance. It's one of the primary drivers of visceral fat. Because now, instead of efficiently using carbohydrates for energy, your body starts hoarding them, converting more of what you eat into fat, and disproportionately storing it around your organs. So what's the fix? We shift the quality of the food. We stop looking at nutrition as a list of restrictions and instead as a system to reset hormonal balance and metabolic flexibility. Start by eliminating added sugars as much as possible. Not just the obvious ones like candy or soda, but the hidden sugars in sauces, dressings, granola bars, and so-called health foods. Read the labels. If sugar, or any of its sneaky aliases like dextrose, maltodextrin, corn syrup, is listed in the first few ingredients, it's not serving your goals. Then we replace those refined carbohydrates with whole, unprocessed foods. Foods that are dense in nutrients and high in fiber. Think about a plate that contains lean protein, healthy fats, and colorful vegetables. That combination slows digestion, moderates your blood sugar, keeps insulin levels stable, and gives your body the nutrients it needs to burn fat instead of store it. When insulin levels are low and steady, your body becomes more efficient at accessing stored fat for energy, including visceral fat. Protein is especially important here, not just because it supports muscle maintenance and repair, but because it increases satiety. When you start your day with a high protein meal, you're far less likely to experience the energy crashes and cravings that lead to poor food choices later on. Eggs, Greek yogurt, lean meats, legumes, whatever works for your lifestyle. Just make sure that protein is the foundation of your meals. The body burns more calories digesting protein than it does fat or carbs, and it keeps you feeling full longer. Fiber is another key player. Not enough people talk about fiber when they're trying to lose fat, but it's essential, especially the soluble kind found in foods like oats, chia seeds, flax seeds, avocados, berries, and beans. Fiber slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, supports healthy gut bacteria, and helps regulate hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin. A healthy gut microbiome, by the way, is strongly linked to reduced visceral fat. What you feed those microbes, fiber-rich, unprocessed plants, will influence your weight far more than you might realize. And let's talk about fat for a second, because not all fats are created equal. Healthy fats from sources like avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish can actually help you lose fat. They stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and increase feelings of fullness. The fats you want to avoid are the processed industrial seed oils found in many packaged foods, like soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil, especially when they're heated or used in fried foods. Those contribute to systemic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is another factor that promotes visceral fat accumulation. Now I want to touch on timing, not in the strict sense of rigid meal schedules or extreme intermittent fasting protocols, but in terms of awareness. If you're constantly grazing throughout the day, insulin levels stay elevated, and your body never really gets the chance to switch into fat burning mode. Simply creating clear spaces between meals, 3 to 5 hours without snacking, can allow insulin to drop and fat metabolism to rise. For some people, a 12 to 14 hour overnight fast is all it takes to start seeing improvements in energy, digestion, and body composition. And hydration plays a role too. Often, people mistake thirst for hunger and reach for food when what their body actually needs is water. Drinking a large glass of water before meals has been shown to reduce calorie intake, and staying well hydrated supports your liver and kidneys in processing and eliminating waste products, including byproducts of fat metabolism. Aim to drink water consistently throughout the day and avoid sugary beverages entirely. If you want flavor, go for herbal teas or infuse your water with citrus or cucumber. Let me give you a simple, actionable framework you can use right away. At every meal, think protein, fiber, healthy fat. Build your plate around those three elements. For breakfast, that could look like eggs with sautéed spinach and avocado. For lunch, maybe it's grilled chicken over a big mixed salad with olive oil dressing. Dinner could be salmon, quinoa, and roasted vegetables. Keep it simple. Keep it real. And watch what happens over time, not just to your waistline, but to your energy levels, your focus, your sleep, and your resilience. One more thing, and this is something we emphasize a lot on Mindset Motivation. You have to approach this from a place of empowerment, not punishment. You're not restricting because you have to. You're choosing foods that serve your health, your goals, and your long-term vitality. Every time you sit down to eat, you're sending a signal to your body, and when you repeatedly send the right signals, nutrient-dense, low inflammatory, blood sugar, stabilizing signals, your body responds. It lets go of what it doesn't need, including visceral fat. This process doesn't require perfection. You don't have to count every calorie or eliminate every indulgence. What matters is the overall pattern. Is your nutrition pattern one that supports insulin sensitivity, hormone balance, and cellular health? Or is it one that keeps you on a roller coaster of spikes and crashes, cravings and compensations? Once you become aware of that pattern, you can start shifting it in a more aligned direction. Small choices compound. One clean meal leads to better energy, which leads to better workouts, better sleep, and less stress. That's how momentum builds. And don't forget, food is emotional too. Many of us use it for comfort. For distraction, for celebration. That's normal. The key is learning to meet your emotional needs in other ways too, through connection, movement, rest, creativity, so that food doesn't carry the entire weight of your emotional landscape. When you reduce stress, sleep better, and train consistently, you're far less likely to use food as a coping mechanism. Everything is connected. Nutrition isn't an isolated variable. It's part of a larger lifestyle system. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin, start with food quality. Not perfection, not restriction, just one better decision at a time. Choose whole over processed, choose water over sugar, choose protein over pastry, and give your body time to respond, because it will. Visceral fat isn't a life sentence, it's a signal. And when you start listening to that signal with intention and clarity, change is inevitable. That's how you regain control. That's how you align your daily actions with your highest potential. And if you're here with us at Mindset Motivation, you're already on that path. One choice, one meal, one moment at a time. When we talk about visceral fat, this deep, dangerous fat that wraps around the organs and drives inflammation, we often focus on nutrition, movement, and calories. And those things matter, absolutely. But there's another piece that is just as critical and in some ways even more powerful. It's the one most people ignore, downplay, or simply don't understand well enough. That piece is sleep. Not just getting enough sleep, but getting quality sleep on a consistent basis. Because when sleep breaks down, everything breaks down. Your metabolism slows, your cravings spike, your insulin sensitivity drops, and cortisol, the stress hormone, starts to climb. And when cortisol is elevated, especially at the wrong times of day or night, your body becomes primed to store fat, specifically visceral fat. So if you've been eating right and training hard, but still holding on to stubborn belly fat, poor sleep might be the silent saboteur. Sleep is not a passive state. It's an incredibly active process where your body does deep physiological repair. Your brain clears out waste products, your hormones rebalance, your nervous system resets, and your metabolism recalibrates. If that process is interrupted or cut short, you miss out on those benefits. Now, most adults need somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, but it's not just about the number of hours. It's about what happens during those hours. You need enough time in deep sleep and REM sleep for your body to optimize fat-burning hormones like growth hormone and testosterone, and to suppress the release of cortisol at night. Now, here's where things get practical. The timing of when you go to sleep plays a huge role in how restorative that sleep is. Your body follows a natural circadian rhythm, a 24-hour internal clock that regulates nearly every system, including fat storage. When you align your sleep with the natural rise and fall of light, you amplify the hormonal rhythms that support fat loss. That means getting to bed somewhere between 9:30 and 1100 p.m. before the second cortisol spike of the night kicks in. When you stay up past that window, you often get a second wind, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing the quality of the rest you do get. And what you do in the hour or two before bed directly affects how deeply and how quickly you sleep. If you're looking at bright screens, your phone, your laptop, Your TV, you're telling your brain it's still daytime. Blue light suppresses melatonin, the hormone that helps you wind down. Without melatonin, your body doesn't know it's time to sleep. So instead of drifting into deep, restful sleep, you stay in lighter stages, tossing and turning and waking up feeling foggy, craving sugar, and dragging through your day. One of the most effective ways to reset this rhythm is to manage light exposure correctly. Get bright, natural light into your eyes as early as possible in the morning, ideally within the first hour after waking. This anchors your circadian clock and tells your body it's time to be awake, alert, and metabolically active. Then, as the evening approaches, dim the lights. Use lamps instead of overhead lights, shut off devices, or wear blue light blocking glasses. Let your body ease into rest mode the way it was designed to. And this isn't just about falling asleep faster. It's about shifting your entire hormonal profile. When your sleep is deep and uninterrupted, your insulin sensitivity improves. That means your body handles carbohydrates more effectively, stores less fat, and pulls more energy into your muscles instead of fat cells. At the same time, sleep boosts leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, and suppresses ghrelin, which triggers hunger. When you don't sleep well, that pattern reverses. You wake up hungry, you crave sugar and carbs, and your brain's reward centers become more sensitive to junk food cues. So it's not about willpower, it's about biology. Sleep also regulates cortisol, and cortisol, when chronically elevated, drives visceral fat storage. But when your sleep is on point, cortisol follows a healthy pattern. It rises in the morning to wake you up and falls at night to allow your body to rest. That drop is essential, because if cortisol stays elevated into the evening, which often happens when people are sleep deprived, stressed, or exposed to artificial light, it interferes with melatonin and keeps you in a state of metabolic stress. Your body holds on to fat, especially around the belly, as a protective mechanism. So the way to reverse that is not to train harder or eat less, it's to sleep better. Let me give you a few key strategies to make this work. First, create a consistent sleep-wake schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. This consistency strengthens your circadian rhythm and improves sleep quality over time. Second, build a pre-sleep routine that tells your body it's time to wind down. That could mean turning off screens an hour before bed, reading a physical book, journaling, doing breath work, or listening to calming music. Whatever helps you shift gears, do it consistently. Your brain thrives on routine. Third, make your sleep environment a sanctuary. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Use blackout curtains, white noise machines, or eye mask if needed. Remove electronics from the room. This isn't just about comfort, it's about signaling safety to your nervous system. When your environment feels secure, your body relaxes more deeply and you move into restorative sleep faster. Also, be mindful of stimulants. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, which means that cup of coffee you had at 3 p.m. could still be in your system at 9 p.m., interfering with sleep onset and quality. Try to cut off caffeine intake at least 8 to 10 hours before bed. And while alcohol might make you drowsy, it actually fragments your sleep and reduces time in REM and deep sleep. If fat loss is your goal, especially visceral fat, it's worth minimizing or avoiding alcohol in the evening. Now, let's talk about what happens when you start improving your sleep consistently. You'll notice more than just fat loss. Your mood improves, your focus sharpens, your workouts feel easier, your cravings decrease, you recover faster. This creates a virtuous cycle. When you sleep well, everything else becomes easier, and your body begins to release the fat it's been holding on to. Visceral fat doesn't stand a chance when your hormones are aligned, your metabolism is humming, and your stress response is balanced. But let's be honest, modern life pulls us away from good sleep habits. We work late, we stare at screens, we snack at night, we sleep with our phones next to our heads, and then we wonder why we feel inflamed, tired, anxious, and stuck. It's not a mystery. It's a mismatch between how our biology evolved and how we're living, and the way back isn't complicated. It just requires commitment. Commitment to respecting your body's need for rest. Commitment to giving yourself permission to pause. Commitment to making sleep a priority, not an afterthought. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Start with one change. Maybe that's getting morning light. Maybe it's turning off your phone an hour before bed. Maybe it's setting a consistent bedtime. Just pick one, do it consistently, and build from there. Small steps create big shifts, and those shifts compound over time. This is why we focus on sleep so heavily in mindset motivation, because it's the silent force behind sustainable transformation. If your sleep is poor, no diet or workout will compensate long term. But when your sleep is solid, everything else falls into place more easily. Your body begins to operate the way it was designed to, efficiently, powerfully, and with resilience. So as you continue your journey to eliminate visceral fat, don't overlook the nights. They matter just as much as the days. Prioritize sleep like your progress depends on it, because it does. And when you wake up with more clarity, more energy, and more alignment, you'll know that your body is finally working with you, not against you. This is how real change happens. Quietly, steadily, night after night.